future of internet culture in a post-apocalyptic world. And I know that this might seem a bit scary, but let's talk about what the apocalypse is in the future. So to talk about the future, I've got to kind of say where I am today. Now, since I graduated Westminster back in 2008, I've had the privilege of using my knowledge of online to talk to brands, talk to agencies, and to basically educate people about this world out there. And the way I got into it was a very long time ago. I was the first person on my street to get internet, and it was really exciting back then, but you weren't really sure what to do with it. So it was kind of like you're in this desert. You've got this whole wasteland ahead of you, and you know there's something out there, but you've got to explore to find it. So you're searching around. There's me searching around, and back in that time, it wasn't me. I wasn't a person, I was anonymous. I could explore all of these strange new worlds by being a totally anonymous person. Now this was great. It meant that I could go into AOL chat rooms, and I could go into all sorts of chat relay, and I could be whoever I wanted in those places. So I explored this strange and vast new world, and it was very weird, and I didn't really find a home for a long time. Felt like I was this nomadic explorer in the desert. And then I came across these sort of tribes, these civilizations, and they turned out to be forums where I could go and associate myself with. They felt really great to be a part of it, because I found a culture that I could be involved in. These forums were Beta, which is apparently one of the most puerile places of comedy on the internet. It's UK based, but I loved it. I loved being able to create and post images on there. And it was also a forum called VJ, which was local to the West Country. And that was brilliant. It was where I was. It was with people I'd never met before, but I knew they were near me and they shared the same interests. And we developed over time, and this is how the internet evolved, and gradually we became like a whole proper community. And I didn't have to be myself. I was a pseudonym on there. But it kind of felt like it was being me, or exploring the identity of being me. So the internet evolved around us. It grew up into this sort of lovely civilization, and when I went to university, I realised that all of the people nowadays, they weren't on forums, they were on MySpace. Now, MySpace seemed a bit scary to me, because you had to use your real identity, and people were using their actual names on there, and that sort of felt like stealing a bit of my soul or something. Using my actual identity online. So I had a pseudonym on MySpace for a while, but gradually the internet grew up even further, and we became this kind of city civilization, and we had Facebook, and we had YouTube, and gradually it was fine to be someone, to be a real person on the internet, and actually building your own identity, making yourself into these different identities that you had online, your Twitter identity, your Facebook identity. This became quite important to yourself, to your concept of identity online. Now, the internet grew up, and we've got to this place where we've got this overarching identity. And I think the real trigger for me was when you could log into Facebook, and then you can log into all of the different platforms using Facebook Connect. So you had this identity that followed you around the internet, and you could be Holly Clarke and comment on things on all of these new platforms, and everyone knew who you were, and making a name for yourself. So that's the kind of world that we live in. If that's the present, what's the post-apocalypse? So what's the apocalypse to start with? So the apocalypse, if you're thinking of this kind of ticking time bomb, to me the apocalypse is not about an actual real world apocalypse. So I'm not going to talk to you about what happens when comets hit the earth or zombies invade and you have to set up the internet again. That's not what we're talking about here. And we're also not talking about what happens if the internet goes down, because there was an excellent episode of South Park that covered that very well. Oh dear. Yeah, back to there. And so the apocalypse to me is the looming threat of a governed internet. This is the SOPA, the PEEPA, the CISPA, the ACTA, and all of those other things that seem a bit complicated and end with A. These are the things that threaten the world as we know it, the kind of internet that I grew up with. And they threaten it because they bring this idea of a walled garden. There's a certain way you can interact with things, and there's a loss of anonymity. So your identity will follow you, and the internet, the government can track who you are, where you're going, and what you've done online. And this seems fine for a while, but then you've got also internet censorship. You can see this site, you can't see that site, and this is already happening in a lot of civilizations, but not the Western world. But there are lines to be crossed when talking about building these things. When you start to hard code into your devices, when you actually decide that there is a black and there is a white, and the law isn't grey anymore, it's hard-coded into your sterile applications. This is what Jonathan Zittrain of Harvard Law School describes as the applications that you can't hack, you can't make your own. When this happens, this changes the world. This is the apocalypse. So what's the post-apocalypse if this is the apocalypse? So this is our utopian world. This is our lovely analogy here. I'm a bit of a sci-fi fan, so you might follow this all the way through. So if you think about Logan's Run, this is our utopia. Our utopia, it's safe. It's really easy. You have this identity that follows you. You don't actually have to do very much work in order to you go to a new platform and they're able to know what you like already. The advertisement is keyed to exactly what you want, and you go online and you know exactly what you want to buy and who you want to talk to. Everything's kind of planned out for you. And it's safe, it's very convenient, and it's this lovely utopia. But every time there's a utopia, if you're a science fiction fan like me, you know that there's a dystopic universe outside there. So outside of Logan's Run's bubble, you've got this dystopic world. You've got your Mad Max 2 wastelands. You've got your universe outside of the Matrix. You've got the Zion out there. And what does this mean in terms of the internet? If there's one internet where it's utopic and you can interact with it in a certain way, how do you have the dystopic internet? Well, this is the dark nets. These are the internets that are set up outside of law, outside of civilization. These are everything that's not governed by the government. And to compare it, you can be anonymous on the dark nets. In fact, you need to be anonymous on the dark nets because a lot of the things that are happening are outside of the law. But you always have this dystopic world when you start to polarize things. And in utopia, everywhere's still nice, it's still easy. But in your dystopic darknet, you act like a hacker. Mad Max in Mad Max 2 here is your hacker going out there. And even though everything's easy in utopia, it comes up to you. In darknets, it's not easy because you've got to socialize your way into finding content, into getting into these closed groups, because they've got to trust who you are, and that's how you get your content. So if this is the kind of worlds out there, it sort of feels a bit like internet culture is today. This is like memescape at the moment. So you've got your Facebook identity, you've got Mark Zuckerberg arguing for one identity overall that follows with you. You have your timeline where you can enter everything since your birth, you can record everything about you, and that's meant to reflect the real you. But then you've also got the underbelly of the internet. And this is the 4chan, this is the dark places in subreddits Reddit, and these are the places where internet culture is coming from. Internet culture is not coming from Facebook. It's coming from these dark places of the internet where you can be anonymous. And Christopher Poole, who founded 4chan, argues that you need to be anonymous in order to have co-creation. And some amazing things have come out of 4chan. You've got Rickrolling, something that's participatory. It's a kind of action that happens online. So if this is sort of where we're at the moment, then why is the internet leaking? Why is this culture pervaded out of the underbelly of the internet, and how come it's become mainstream? So the memes have kind of escaped. They've escaped the communities that have created them. This is Success Kid, who was an image macro, and that came from the idea of advice dog, which came from, again, 4chan and Reddit. These were created as a kind of visual vernacular for people to communicate ideas with each other. And here it is on a billboard advertising Virgin. So you can see the internet is leaking, it's escaped. And what happens when the niche, the kind of thing from a community escapes? Well, it escapes onto Facebook, and it's propagated. This is the Westminster memes page, and I absolutely love that when I went on there to take a screenshot to put in the presentation, you've got something that references the TEDx talk. Brilliant. So this is taking the mainstream and making it niche again. It's making it appropriate for the culture. But do you know where these images come from, why there's sunburst behind them and what they reference? No, but it's a way of talking to each other. So the internet has become mainstream. So what happened to the underbelly? Well, it just got worse. Every time anything goes from underground to mainstream, what happens to the underground? If you think about rock music was the underground, this then gave birth to punk when rock became mainstream, and then you had metal music. It's this kind of constant evolution of when something goes mainstream, you've just got to get worse. So the underbelly just got hideous. It's got filthy, it's ugly, it's disgusting, and Dolan Duck, please don't Google that, is an example of just how wrong the internet has become. This means that the memes aren't being put onto Hot Topic t-shirts. They're not being passed around the mainstream because they've just become too puerile. So why do we want to save the internet? Why do we want to stop the apocalypse if everything being created by the underbelly is like rape jokes? It's horrible. Why do we want to save these things? Well, it's not just that we want. So the idea of anonymity comes from the concept of free speech. So there's a darknet was created by Clarke called Freenet, and this is meant to have free speech online. So darknets aren't just about file sharing and making sure you can get free downloads. They're also about opening up government corruption and making sure that you can have an open free speech. If you think back to the Federalist Papers that were created just before the US Constitution was founded, these were the papers on which this was based. These were created anonymously. These were created anonymously because you can't have free speech without being able to be anonymous. If you're not anonymous, if you have enforced identity, therefore feel very culpable for the things you say. And if you're in a situation where you don't know if you can say it or not, you're not going to say it. So this is all about allowing free speech in a controlled society, and that's why we should be anonymous. So this is why I say stop the apocalypse. Stop SOPA, PIPA, and all of these government enforcements from trying to make the internet black and white, because the internet isn't black and white. You can't hard code the law, and you need to have a grey law. It needs to be understood. You need to have people who are writing laws who understand they come from the internet. They understand the reasons why these things exist. So that's why I think we need to cut the blue cable, defend the internet. Thank you very much. I'm Holly Clarke and many other pseudonyms online.